On tonight's CTV News, the Barrington 3 stages sitting protest outside the mall to provoke action from the council. We have footage of the tornado that wreaked havoc in Amberley last night. And Sport New Zealand are doing their best post-quake to ensure the Canterbury region is still producing top athletes. This is CTV News, I'm Grant Mangan. The clean-up is now underway after a wild weather storm hit across most parts of the region yesterday, ripping off roofs and cutting power to hundreds of local residents.
Tornadoes, hail, thunder and heavy rain have swept over Canterbury, leaving a path of destruction in its wake.
So I was waiting for the ground to move because I thought it was an earthquake, but there was no movement and it was just everything was swirling around so much. It was incredible. Amberley's Leanne McTeer's roof was ripped off. She'd moved into the house less than a month ago after shifting from her asbestos-ridden home in Shirley. Today she's cleaning up the debris tossed across her property when a tornado hit North Canterbury yesterday evening. Everything went black and was swirling round. There's a horrendous amount of noise, and then inside the house was just full of black smoke. It must have been black dust from the chimney because both the chimneys came down.
The roof's been ripped out, so it's quite structural, and obviously the weather is, if it rains and what have you, we've secured all the possessions and stuff like that, and that's the best we can do. The storm left a path of destruction across all of Canterbury. Buckled fences, mangled power lines and uprooted trees were all picked up in the gusts of winds seen in Amberley and Leeston.
We had a very quick, nasty little storm. It apparently was a tornado, I would think, and it's blown down a lot of trees, flattened the glass house and damaged a few other things, but we're all safe and sound, and that's the main thing. The Met Service says the thunderstorm formed off the coast of Timaru and then made its way north.
There are a few storms in our lifetime, but I think this might be worse than that.
Yes. Lightning strikes caused a small fire in Hallswell, as well as significant damage across the region and power cuts to over 400 people. With all this debris flying around and what have you, you're very lucky that we haven't had injuries. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Barrington bus users are sick of spending cold mornings waiting for the bus to arrive. The bus hub opposite Barrington Mall has no shelter, and as winter approaches, bus users are dreading the frosty mornings. Marcus Gibbs reports.
Buses arrive and buses go. People get on and people get off. But these three aren't leaving. Janet, Linley and Roy are watching and waiting, holding a silent protest because the Christchurch City Council has yet to give them a bus shelter outside of this stop.
We desperately need a bus shelter for the people who are waiting here, sometimes for 25 minutes to half an hour, to catch a bus from this side.
The problem stems from Athelston Street's bus stop moving 100 metres down the road. It was then converted into a temporary bus hub with room for up to 4 buses. Residents were told because it was temporary, the Christchurch City Council wouldn't be providing a shelter.
It's been a year and a couple of months since they moved the bus stop, and they said it was going to be temporary.
These protesters have already found the perfect spot for the new shelter if they can manage to get it.
Right under these trees, which is land that belongs to the Christchurch City Council, and that would be an ideal and very simple thing for Christchurch City Council to put a bus shelter in here. Would desperately like that to happen.
Further down the road on the corner of Barrington and Athelston Street sits the former bus shelter. Signs state it's no longer in use, but it's the only seat Roy Sinclair has while he waits for his bus to arrive.
Where the bus stops down the road here is 100 metres or so, and there's nowhere to sit down.
How frustrating is that? Does it get pretty cold in the middle of winter?
Oh, it does a bit, yes. Even on mornings like this, it can get a bit cold.
As Roy waited, it almost looked like this bus was indicating to pick him up. But my mistake, it was only turning the corner.
Unfortunately, bus users are second-rate citizens in a car-driven city. So they're either elderly or handicapped or poor, and it's not really a fair go.
The other side of Athelston Street already has a bus shelter, and locals were making full use of it this morning. But other than these 4 chairs provided by Janet, bus users were forced to sit on the grass verge and wait on this side of the road.
It's really annoying because I bus here every day from the gym, and you just have to sit here and wait for a bus, and on the weekends you have to wait like an hour.
It's freezing, and there are so many elderly, frail people who use buses, and particularly in this area, which is not a rich area at all.
Sprayton Heathcote Community Board Chairman Paul McMahon says the board is waiting for reports from the City Council about shelter options for the bus hub. He says the current situation is unsatisfactory, but these protesters won't be giving up anytime soon. If they don't get their shelter, they'll take their case to the local Community Board and Environment Canterbury Commissioners. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
The Ellerslie Flower Show's future depends on how well it performs this year. Organisers are pledging better and brighter after last year's show fell short of expectations and ran at a loss.
Christchurch Mayor Leanne Dalzell says the previous council kept the show going despite the bloom and bust. Mayor Dalzell says there will be a comprehensive review of the event. The Mayor says this will give an in-depth analysis of the cost and reward. She welcomes the review and says it's the right thing to do. The council bought the Auckland show in 2007 for $3 million. The show's injected $36 million into Canterbury's economy since then. Last year it ran at a loss of more than $300,000 and attracted 10,000 fewer visitors than expected. Over half the viewers last year were disappointed, and the council says it's taken the feedback on board. Council Marketing Unit Manager Richard Stokes says there will be more gardens this year. A small number last year contributed to the disappointment. At last year's show, 72 gardens and exhibits didn't even cover 2,000 square metres. This year, 96 gardens and exhibits will cover 3,300 square metres. It includes 41 gardens and 55 horticultural and floral art exhibits. Show manager Kate Hillier is confident no one will be disappointed this year. Kate Hillier says if people aren't satisfied with this year's show, she's not sure what else they can do, as it's going to be amazing. Ticket sales are up 17% from this time last year. Highlights for this year's show will be an increased focus on sustainability and 8 Christchurch schools competing in a new category. The show opens this Wednesday and is open till Sunday the 2nd of March. Patrick Phelps, CTV News.
3 years on, Ken Hurd can't believe he's walking. He was flipped off his bike in the February earthquake, breaking his neck. Bedbound in the weeks after, he had to learn how to walk again.
Looking back at old photos, Ken Hurd sees a stranger. 3 years ago tomorrow marks the day Ken was tossed off his bike during an aftershock of the big quake, hitting the ground head first.
The road opened up and I went in and I don't remember any of it.
A keen cyclist, Ken was used to cycling more than 4,000 kilometres a year, but after breaking his neck, he spent weeks in hospital lying flat on his back. Despite his scare, he was determined to get back on his bike.
I want to. I certainly want to. I tell you what, if I could ride down the street, I'd be so happy.
3 years on, Ken's back on 2 feet, and he's working at an engineering firm part-time. But best of all for Ken, he's back cycling. He enjoys taking his new dog Molly for a ride around the local park, or out to Bottle Lake Forest.
How's the ride? Oh, great. Yeah, it's great to be back on the bike. Never thought it'd be as good as it is, and
he won't cycle far on the road. After his injury, it's just too much, so he mostly sticks to off-road tracks.
Because of the traffic, I can't look over my shoulder like I used to, and the cognitive energy it takes is just too overwhelming. So
he spent part of his recovery volunteering at Burwood Spinal Unit. Pushing the trolley cart taught him how to walk again unassisted. He's still volunteering nearly 3 years on. It's his way of giving back to the people who helped him. He can't believe his remarkable recovery.
It's quite amazing to see how the body can actually heal, and you know, put a bit of effort into it, and it's amazing what you can achieve.
Another milestone for Ken was celebrating the birth of his first grandchild over the summer holidays.
She arrived New Year's Day, and I must admit it was a flood of emotions knowing that I may have missed this day.
The doting grandfather is enjoying life, but tomorrow's 3rd anniversary of the earthquake won't be an easy day for Ken or his family.
To reflect back 3 years now, it comes with celebration for me, but also sadness for the ones that won't have a life.
After all his achievements over the last 3 years, Ken's promising to keep enjoying life, putting his feet to the pedals and moving forward. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Coming up, CTV attended the 3-year anniversary commemorations over the weekend. Every Tuesday night, I talk to the newsmakers and decision takers to get answers to the questions that have gone unanswered. It's time to listen carefully, see clearly, and understand the real issues. Join me for Point of View, Tuesday nights at 8:30 on CTV.
Hi, Tony Todd from Todd of Ashburton, maintaining the essence of tradition while keeping in style with today. At Todd's, we do our best to meet customer demands and offer quality fashion with friendly service. Our brands are amongst the best. Catering to both men and women, we can have you looking your finest from top to toe. For our full list of brands and products, view our latest up-to-date catalogue at todds.co.nz.
Meet me there in Edgware. Bailey's Bar have reopened in their new location on the corner of Edgware Road and Colombo Street. We offer a casual dining experience with a range of tasty fare. Try from our all-day breakfast menu or choose from our extensive main menu available from 12 p.m. The perfect place to start your day or evening out. Come and enjoy the great atmosphere at Bailey's Bar.
Get down! Brandon! Don't worry, I've got my vest. I'll just slip this on.
If you're looking for a great quality car, look no further than Wheeler Motor Company. Based in Christchurch, they are known for their exceptional service and great value over 30 years. With around 150 cars to choose from, you can rest easy that Wheeler Motor Company will find the perfect car to suit your needs. So drop in and see Nick Wheeler and the team at 171 Morehouse Ave, or jump online at wheelermotors.co.nz.
Let's face it, everyone has an agenda. And guess what? So do I. Every week, I'll pick 3 stories that grab my attention. Agenda with me, Brent Goff.
Three years of earthquake recovery was marked over the weekend with a number of memorial services around the city. Marcus Gibbs takes a look at when the city stopped to remember.
Christchurch's Botanic Gardens. At 12:51 Saturday afternoon, more than 1,000 people stood silent, remembering the 185 people killed during the February 2011 earthquake. Christchurch Cathedral Dean Linda Patterson urged Canterburyans to come together as we enter this 4th year after the quake.
So we gather today to support those whose grief will never fade, to share their pain in the hope that somehow it might be lessened.
A dozen wreaths were laid as a mark of respect to those who did not survive. Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee read aloud a message on behalf of Prince William, who visited Christchurch just weeks after the devastating quake hit in March 2011.
On this anniversary, please be assured that you are in the thoughts and prayers of countless people around the world, fellow Cantabrians, all of us.
At the CTV site where 115 people were killed, family members laid flowers and wreaths. CTV held a private ceremony to remember the 16 staff members who didn't survive the collapse of the building. Back at Canterbury Television on Wairiki Road, candles were lit underneath photos of the staff who were lost. While at the commemorations, the father of CTV presenter Matty Beaumont spoke about his son.
3 years have gone by, but our love for Matty has grown stronger.
Other family members and friends took turns to share stories and funny moments as the station came together to remember a day no one will forget. Later, 16 balloons with the names of those who perished were released into the sky. We will always remember. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Canterbury remembered 3 years on since the devastating earthquake hit in 2011. Days later, another country was experiencing similar devastation. Christchurch watched as images of the Japanese earthquake and tsunami flattened parts of that country. Emma Cropper has their story and how they're faring 3 years on.
It struck just days after the Christchurch earthquake. 11th of March 2011, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake hit off the coast of Japan, lasting almost 6 minutes. An earthquake-savvy country, the strict building codes meant most just swayed with the ground, and phone alerts gave a 1-minute warning to residents before the quake even struck. But an hour later, the heart of the disaster was about to hit. The powerful undersea earthquake generated a large tsunami that travelled 10 kilometres inland. Leaving unprecedented catastrophe in its wake, destroying in its path 3-storey buildings where people had sought safety. 18,000 people died in the disaster, most of them from drowning. But things came in threes for Japan. The country relies on nuclear power. The tsunami crashed into the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. A triple nuclear meltdown and a hydrogen explosion added to their problems. They issued a level 7 nuclear meltdown, causing 150,000 people to flee 50 kilometres from the plant. But how are they faring today? The scale of the disaster was much larger than what we saw in Christchurch, but the issues they face are recognised by Cantabrians. 300,000 people who lost their homes still remain in temporary housing. Hundreds of evacuees who lived in the surrounding area around the nuclear plant have filed a lawsuit, demanding compensation from the government for their suffering and losses. Concerns are still surrounding the level of radioactive material people are exposed to. Almost 300 tonnes of radioactive water continues to leak from the plant every day into the Pacific Ocean. Decommissioning of the 6 reactors at the Fukushima plant is expected to cost $650 billion and could take up to 40 years. Debris from the tsunami is still washing up onto the shores of North America, and since the disaster, Japan could be phasing out nuclear power by the 2030s.
Christchurch Sport has been hit hard since the earthquakes. 3 years on since the February earthquake, Sport New Zealand are doing their best to make sure Canterbury keeps producing top athletes.
Getting more people outside and active has been a major part for Christchurch Sport Group's post-earthquake.
When the earthquake hit, getting sport equipment out to kids, getting them starting to play, getting to hear them laugh again was a critical component of the recovery here. Sport groups in the east have been hardest hit, losing many of their grounds and Kiwi 2 Park, a hub for training athletes in all areas of sport. Yeah, still facilities are a big issue. Surface, ground surface, aquatic are still areas that are struggling. But other sports are adapting and finding new innovative ways of getting sport up and going again. But while the city has lost many of its sports grounds and areas, Peter Miskman believes participation levels in sport across the region are back to what they were pre-earthquake. And that's a testament to all of the clubs and supporters and the sport leaders in the community to be resilient enough and creative enough to find more opportunities given the situation, the challenges that have been here. But Sport New Zealand are doing their best to make sure they stay that way. Pathway to Podium has been established to make sure the rising stars stay in Christchurch. So we'll be picking the brightest, best young talent in Christchurch and assisting them with their high performance development, creating that daily training environment they'll need to be the elite athlete in the future. Rebuilding the Apollo High Performance Centre at Jelly Park has provided a centre for top athletes to train. Sport New Zealand invested $3.5 million into rebuilding and upgrading the complex, which includes a netball court and new gym facilities. All of the carded and elite athletes in Christchurch now don't have to travel somewhere else, they can stay here and train in that environment. Over the next 5 years, there'll be a large focus making sure more of the top line facilities are reopened in the city. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Still to come, the weekend sport, traffic and weather updates.
Al Jazeera News, international news right off the satellite, bringing you up-to-the-minute coverage of world events. Al Jazeera News, weekday mornings at 6 o'clock, right here on CTV.
Make your next evening out one to remember at Tutto Bene Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Enjoy a lively, authentic, friendly Italian dining experience. Our dishes are made with fresh, local produce, prepared and cooked to perfection. Relax and indulge in mouth-watering Italian cuisine. With gluten-free and vegetarian options available, BYO wine is welcome. Tutto Bene. Dine in or take away. Open 7 days from 5 p.m.
what's up with you?
Oh, I've got birthdays coming up, I've got bills coming out of my ears, I just don't have the money.
Well, why don't you just go to the pawn shop?
Yes, the pawn shop has a massive selection of rings, watches, car audio, sports gear, heaps of DVDs, digital cameras, computers and musical instruments. They have just about everything.
Sounds good to me. Let's go.
Everything's as good as gold at the pawn shop. 77 Ferry Road and 396 Blenheim Road.
My son's helped me greatly with my independence now that I've got more mobility.
Mum, I've been looking into stand assist chairs from More Mobility. They recline back with a footrest, then when you want to get out of them, they stand you up. You can even sleep on them. More Mobility can bring one out for a free trial. There's even electric beds too. What do you think? For more range and more expert advice, see More Mobility, corner Clarence and Princess Streets off Blenheim Road.
What a difference more mobility makes.
Avoid the cowboys when it comes to relocating. Trust A1 Movers, a family business since 1993 that guarantees a professional job every time. We carefully handle and wrap your valued items, ensuring they have a safe journey. Secure storage and insurance options also available.
A1 Movers, the careful, caring, moving company.
Join us tonight at 6 for DW World News. Informative, lively, international news, breaking stories and global developments. DW News, weekdays at 6 p.m, right here on CTV.
Well, it's the start of a new week, and that means it's time for a roundup of the past couple of days' sporting action.
It's taken just one round of the Super Rugby campaign for Crusaders fans to start missing the boot of Dan Carter. In near-perfect conditions, the Crusaders squandered a potential 21 points on penalties during the match after a terrible kicking display from Tyler Blyndale in the first half, while his second-half replacement Tom Taylor couldn't make much of an improvement. Not being able to convert penalties, the Crusaders still found themselves in the match late on as they camped themselves in the Chiefs' half for the last 10 minutes of the match. However, a late intercept try to James Lowe confirmed the Chiefs' victory before Aaron Cruden added insult to injury, converting on the final hooter to give the Chiefs an 18-10 point win and ensure the Crusaders left the match without any competition points. Crusaders coach Todd Blackadder will have the option to rejuvenate his lineup this week, with Kieran Reid and Colin Slade returning as they look for their first win of the season when they head to Auckland to play the Blues on Friday. Shot putters Valerie Adams and Tom Walsh were the main attraction over the weekend at the international track meet held at Christchurch's Christ College. Adams and Walsh competed in the all-comers shot put event, with double Olympic champion Adams taking the honours. Tom Walsh took until his third throw to register a distance, with his longest throw of the day just short of the 20-metre mark. 19.89 metres set a meet record, beating his effort from last year, but shy of his personal best earlier in the summer of 20.61. Valerie Adams had 4 efforts over the 20-metre mark with her lighter women's shot, taking out the event with a throw of 20.19 metres. Adams and Walsh both departed for Switzerland yesterday to build up for the World Indoor Championships, which take place next month. And finally tonight, the Canterbury United Dragons National Football League season is over after their final round loss to defending champs Waitakere City, going down 3-1. United went into yesterday's match needing just a draw to book their spot in the playoffs. However, the loss means that Waitakere now leapfrog United into 4th spot. Canterbury's fate was sealed on the 57-minute mark when Maxim Monco converted to make it 3-0 for Waitakere, with a strike from Canterbury's Russell Camo with 24 minutes remaining, providing just a glimmer of hope. You're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Finlater for CTV Sport.
If you're driving around the central city, CTV's traffic update will assist you navigating the repairs taking place.
Hello travellers, a number of new restrictions will be in place this week on Central City roads, and we suggest road users take some time to plan their routes before travelling to avoid those long delays. There will be lane reductions at several intersections on Barbados Street. Expect delays through here, especially in peak hours. Fitzgerald Ave is a good alternative route south. Armagh Street will be closed between Manchester and Madras Street. For westbound travellers, use Madras Street to Kilmore. And if you're heading east, use Gloucester Street to Madras Street. Durham Street also has continuing lane reductions this week. When travelling from one side of the city to the other, we suggest using the 4 avenues where possible and keep watching CTV News first at 5 to stay ahead of the pack.
And actually the 4 avenues were always a good route to take even before the earthquakes came along. Thank heavens the early city founding fathers decided to circle the central city with 4 avenues. And finally, here's our regional weather.
Even in Canterbury, we've had good weather today over most parts of the region. But do wrap up warm tonight. There's a weak cold front due, while an anticyclone is edging closer tomorrow. Now let's take a look at your region's weather for the coming days. In Kaikoura, a cloudy and cool Tuesday is in store, with some drizzle patches at times and moderate easterly winds. Tonight will sit on a low of 9. Tomorrow is expected to hit a high of 15. In Hanema, cloud will be breaking during the afternoon, with some sunny periods developing. Do expect some light winds. Tonight will sit on a low of 9. Tomorrow's high will be 18. Rangiora and Kaipui. Tonight's low is 9 degrees, mostly cloudy and cool with some light showers possible during the morning. Christchurch, a cloudy Tuesday ahead for the city, with some drizzle patches possible at first but dry in the afternoon. Tonight's low will be 9, tomorrow's high is 16. Heading south to Ashburton, dull and grey in mid-Canterbury tomorrow with easterly breezes and cool temperatures. High will be 15, tonight you'll sit on a low of 9. And further down south in Timaru, cloudy and cool with some drizzle patches at first, but cloud breaking during the afternoon. Expect a high of 16, tonight's low will be 9. And tomorrow in other areas of the South Island, it's going to be mainly cloudy. Except for Arthur's Pass and Greymouth, you've got some fine weather heading your way, with Greymouth hitting a high of 22 degrees. Looking ahead for Canterbury, let's take a look at the weather over the next few days. Morning low cloud or mist clearing and becoming fine and sunny in the afternoon on Wednesday, with fresh breezy northeasterlies. It's warm on Thursday with high cloud increasing during the day and moderate northerly winds. We'll have another update on your local weather for you tomorrow.
This weather really is extraordinary, isn't it? I was up in Kaikoura with Rob Cope-Williams on Saturday at the AMP show there. Spectacular day, over 30 degrees. We'll have highlights from that program for you next week. But for tonight, it's the end of CTV News. I'm Grant Mangan. We'll end with some highlights from memorial services held on Saturday.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.